Welcome back to my Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Near Darling. Shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today? I don't know what happened there. Fawnhallow today. Well, we'll just be carrying on the conversation about the holiday. I will say the D&D session last night was pretty crazy. Had the first character player death. But we'll see how that pans out in future sessions. It was actually very, very nearly a TPK, and like I'll give you a little preview. Like it wasn't so much me as a DM just being like, "Hey, you're gonna die." But anyway, good evening, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 9:52 p.m. on Thursday, October 24th, 2024. The TLDR's one of my players has follows a god who is like a god of a hunt or the thrill of a hunt. And he's all about, these very intense battles, these thrilling battles, etc., etc. And he was getting a little bit, like, annoyed, being like, oh, come on, like, these battles you're doing are, like, nothing. I'm going to give you an option. Let's make this next battle, like, super difficult. And that will be, I'll give that as a challenge to you, and I'll reward you nicely if you complete it. And then, of course, with character, completely in character is, of course, like, yes, 100%. Give me the hardest challenge you have. It's 100% in character for that person to do it, and I did know it, like I did expect it, but I think there was a chance that maybe he would do some bargaining. But another thing about this is they were in a battle which they thought basically they couldn't die in. There was a thing called a lifelink, which would essentially mean that if they died, they would not actually die. It was just mechanically is 2 death rolls is how it was going to play out. But the god didn't like that, and the god severed the lifelink privately, so only one of them knew it. And credit to our friend, did a fantastic job of not saying anything until like towards the end, where it seemed like people were actually going to die, which again feels very in character. So they basically were doing a deadly encounter, or one of them knew that if they messed up they would die, and the others didn't know. The others were just like doing a normal battle. And it did result in one character dying. I don't mean to put it so lightly, because it was more of like a plot twist, if anything, because I was just like, oh, normally if a character dies I would want to give them like a chance to have like their final words, a really epic moment, that sort of thing. But I'm like, okay, but this is meant to be more of a twist that they died, where even the person themselves didn't even necessarily know they died. You might say this is unfair, but I can't reveal everything which is going on, but things are going on, I suppose, which is why it's not as unfair as it sounds. But they're 4 level 7 characters. They all are pretty strong, actually. Like, I've given them stronger feats and items than I think you would usually have, and they have higher base stats than normal. And they fought a Remoraz, which I believe is CR 11, which I think is a deadly encounter, essentially, for them. Which is unsurprising, because with one attack, they do an insane amount of damage. They have a crazy, like, chance to hit, and they do an insane amount of damage. Like, the first attack, it did, like, 54 hit points of damage, which is insanity. But it was only one of them. And the thing I was most worried about was the fact that one of the characters, the cleric, had banishment, and Ramaz is not very charismatic, and it was not native to that plane, so if they just banished it, I'd be like, that's it, it's done. But that's why I put a buffer fight in the beginning of a relatively simple fight, which they wanted to show up and like actively encourage them to be like, you should show up, this is a time to make a name for yourself, in game, of course. So luckily the cleric cast banishment, very impressive, but also meant it didn't completely trivialize that deadly encounter. Anyway, whatever happens next in that stuff, I will let you know. But just you had to trust me that it's not as unfair as it seems. But of course, not everything's come to light yet, so I can't give away everything. But the players at least know at this point there's definitely something strange going on. But yeah, nonetheless, what we're going to talk about is, I suppose, more stuff about Paris, to be honest, about that trip. It was just like, it was a really intense moment, and it's like probably one of the few times I've left the session like on an actual cliffhanger. It's very difficult, I feel like, to get one over on your players sometimes, especially. Either it might not feel like as big as a plot twist, or they work it out, which is honestly encouraged. Like, I do want my players to at least have a chance to be able to work it out, but sometimes it's just like, man, It's it's hard to get that sort of like juicy moment, you know. Anyway, so yesterday I spoke about the accommodation we stayed in, which is very aesthetic, very artistic. But then, what can I talk about next? Okay, so we had a meal. We went to a place which basically did like Thai noodles, well, noodles in general, all that sort of thing, which is honestly pretty fine, pretty decent for its money's worth. It was like a pretty big bowl of noodles for like 15 euros, which would have been like £12-ish, I think, which is not bad, all things considered. We also went to McDonald's. But there's just like small like food anecdotes throughout the trip. We went to McDonald's, and it turns out in France they like I think I've brought this up multiple times before. When my friends like to go to some of my friends like to go to some of the fast food places in other countries just to see what they have different. I myself am not that bothered, but again, I'm not that motivated by food in the first place, so it's sort of just like if you gave me the option, I would go for maybe something a bit more local, but it's not the end of the world if we go to McDonald's or anything like that. If anything, I come to expect it at this point. But one of the things which my friends found way cooler than I did, so I feel like I'm definitely missing out here, and you can tell me if I'm wrong for not finding it as cool as they maybe did, but there was a thing where they were buying ice cream, and one of the things they could buy was petite ice squeeze, as it's called, which is basically a very small ice cream. It's basically the smallest size of ice cream they have. I don't really remember why my friend bought it in the first place. Maybe because he was just like, well, I haven't seen this before, and so let's buy it. Or I don't know, maybe he wanted a small amount of ice cream. But it turns out it's basically like a squeezy tube of ice cream. Like Calippos or something, which is an ice lolly, I suppose, in Britain, which has like a sort of tube-ish shape to it. But this was more like a tube-ish shape, but it had ice cream in it instead, which was... I mean, I did think it was cool. I just didn't think it was as cool as my friends found it, which was very cool. It was basically like a squeezy tube. It had like a star shape at the top, so it came out kind of like toothpaste, or maybe a bit like icing, if you want to be a bit more of a generous reading of it. And my friends were just like, "Whoa, this is like the coolest thing." Oh, okay, not the coolest thing ever. I'm not going to put words in my mouth, but they did find it very cool. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess it's convenient. And that's basically what I appreciated about it. I appreciated the fact that it was very convenient. It was like a very low mess way, I think, for kids to eat ice cream. Because, I mean, if you've ever met a child, they are some of the messiest creatures. I say that as a former child, as I think most people probably were. Children can be very, very messy. And you can imagine the headache, I think, as a parent of buying your kid an ice cream and then just being like, how are you getting ice cream everywhere? It's literally just sitting there. And sometimes you don't want to deal with that. So the fact that you can get it in like a little squeezy tube, I suppose, which you can, squeeze like toothpaste into your mouth and presumably not really have much of a mess is, I'm sure it's just like, wow, that's like a game changing. And also nice how it probably is not a huge amount of ice cream either. It's not something where you have it and it's like, oh, I don't want my child to be eating like such an insane amount of ice cream. Are we really going to talk about the squeezy tube ice cream for forever? And the answer is maybe. The answer is maybe. But yeah, the ice cream, it just came in like a squeezy tube, and I don't know, like it's both cool and not as cool as I think. As you think? I'm not sure. As whoever thinks. In my opinion. Like, I guess I do have this innate curiosity of, like, I wonder what other, like, foods other countries might have. But also at the same time, I suppose I'm a little bit hypocritical where I wouldn't really go seek it out or anything. So my friends definitely helped me sort of satiate that curiosity in that sense. But France didn't really have anything, perhaps unsurprisingly, all too different from the UK. Although I remember being confused at that like Happy Meal section. I don't even know if I actually ate anything from McDonald's apart from a chicken nugget here or there. And I appreciate, I suppose, the convenience of having accessible fast food in all sorts of different countries, and how easy it is to just be like, oh, you want a little bit of a snacky thing? A chicken nugget? Sure, why not? But the squeezy tube ice cream was a huge hit, which is fascinating in its own right. I think my friend ended up buying it again or something at a later date. But you also might think it's a bit strange, I suppose, because France is definitely known for has an assortment of like French desserts, which macarons, eclairs, which are all very good and tasty things, which pastry chefs I think have been honing the art for like their entire lives. And it's perhaps a little bit strange to go to France and then go to McDonald's and just have some ice cream for it, but hey, life's short. But oh yeah, I completely forgot as well. So I guess it's just like late night food stories. I think this is all on the first day or whatever. We were just sort of wandering around and looking at what's open. But my friend saw that there was this place called O Tacos on Deliveroo. I don't remember why he was on Deliveroo at all, but he was like, I saw it and now I have to go there. But O Tacos, not actually tacos, they're kind of more like burritos. But my friend ordered it, and I might add on, is one of the most largest and most, I don't know, like most hungover sort of foods. It's like hangover food is probably how I describe it. Looking at it, he got like this massive, like, did it look bad? I would say it looked fine. It looked like fast food. It basically looked like a massive, like, wide burrito. He got the smaller size as well, and he got the cordon bleu one, so it had like chicken cordon bleu inside, and he got extra cheese, and instead of it having extra cheese on the inside, it literally just had like sliced cheese laying on top of the taco, which again I might remind you is basically like a super wide burrito, which apparently are French tacos, Lyonese tacos. There's a Wikipedia article about them as well. There's little to do with tacos more similar to a burrito or quesadilla, yeah, compared to panini and doner kebab sandwich, and is similar to the California burrito. I mean, at least on my perception, looking at tacos, I was like, this is like a burrito. This is like a panini grilled burrito, essentially. But it was insane. It was one of the largest things, like, to be fair, like, it was a pretty good value for money, I think. If you wanted food, it was like a meal. Like, that in itself was a meal. And that wasn't even like an entire meal you can get. You get like chips and drink as well, which I don't think my friend did not get. It really is like huge. And honestly, I can see myself, back in university times, like on the way back from like a club or something, just being like, oh, we've had a lot to drink or whatever. What do I want? I'm craving something unhealthy, greasy, meat and cheese or whatever, and fat. I could see myself picking up like an otaku if that was a thing. I don't know if that's the biggest hit or whatever, but I'm looking at its website, and I will say, it seems like the cheese on top of the otaku itself is like intended. I thought it was not like intended. I thought that was just like a bit strange, but yeah, my friend got extra cheese, and the cheese just came layered on top of the actual otaku itself, which was strangely bizarre. Is the only way I can really describe it. He did finish it all, much to his own chagrin and regret, I would say, but credit to him for committing to it to the end. It really was quite big. Like, I would say it was, like a Switch dock. It's like the size of a Switch dock, essentially. Probably a bit smaller. But still, that's a lot of, like, meat, fat, and cheese, basically, to have concentrated within one fast food item. Bearing in mind, we had dinner at this, like, noodle place before, which gave us a big bowl of noodles, and he had ice cream before that. So, I don't know. As he says, he has 3 stomachs, but I honestly, I don't think I could, like, could I finish an otaku if you gave it to me for dinner? Yeah, probably. Would I want to? No, probably not. I am finding increasingly more as I get older that it's more difficult for me to eat larger quantities of food, I would say. Yeah, it's getting difficult for me to eat larger quantities of food. Like, I've been finding that if I eat actually too much food, it actually makes me literally sick, no matter what. So, which is ironic because I used to have like a huge appetite. I think most teenagers do, to be honest. Where I could eat like a ridiculous amount, but now I'm just like, okay, I can barely like eat anything, and I'm just like, okay, which is fine. Like, I'm still satiated. Don't get me wrong, but like seeing that attacker, like, it almost made me sort of be like, that's like, don't do it, man. Don't finish eating that. But again, I'm not really someone who has late night snacks or food or anything. So I'm really like a wrong person to be judging this, if anything. It's obviously just like an entire lifestyle, very divorced from my own. And I actually had a friend, sorry, I had a conversation with the same friend about it, and he was like, have you ever like had a midnight snack? And I was like, literally, I don't think I've ever done it. I've never even wanted to have like a midnight snack. Because that's a very common thing, I think, in cartoons as well, like kids sneaking to the fridge and getting a bite of something. But I've literally never wanted to do that, I think. Like the only time I can remember it was I was like after dinner once when I was a child. I was hungry and I wanted dumplings, but that's only because I wanted to stay up later. It's not because I actually wanted the dumplings. I still ate the dumplings, mind you, but and I think I was a little bit hungry, but I don't think I was hungry enough to actually want a snack. I guess it's because when I'm hungry, I don't always eat food. If I'm just hungry, I'll just be like, okay, I'm just hungry, and that's kind of it. I don't know, I'm thinking a lot about myself. The long and short of it is otakos. You can Google it. It's basically a panini. It looks like a panini pressed burrito, or a grilled burrito, is perhaps how I should say it. It looks like, honestly, I feel like it very much ticks a box of sort of like fast food, right? It's like such a concentrated amount of fast food in a neat package and pretty good value for money that I'm just like, I can't hate on it, and I don't want to hate on it. Like, I know for a fact, like, teenage me, younger me would have absolutely adored something like this, but me right now is just like, that's just too much food. Anyway, so late night snacking, not really something I did, but the toothpaste ice cream and the tacos are the two things which I don't know if I'll remember forever, but I will certainly remember it for a while. I think, je pense. Just because of that. Because we did a lot of walking as well about the place. And just like how long it took to finish a taco from the friend who can eat a huge amount of food. Yeah, you know. It's just absolute insanity. To be fair, this is a friend who has been saying for ages that he wants to do like an eating challenge or something, which I realise that probably is not my strength anymore, so my strength is I can eat very spicy food, I guess, but that's about it. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this episode up here. It didn't really have much to do with Paris apart from tacos is a thing in France, so I guess, you know, even though McDonald's didn't have anything different, did have an entirely different food chain and type of food, which was interesting. So I'm going to wrap this episode up here, so if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been dear darling, and likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now.